They say time heals everything. But what if the world takes away the best years of your life, and you can never get them back? This is the story of Daniel Carter, a father, a husband, a man who believed that if you were innocent, the truth would always protect you. He couldn't have been more wrong. Daniel grew up in the quiet suburbs of Ohio. He worked as a mechanic at a small garage, fixing engines by day and fixing up his own house by night. His life was simple. He had a wife, Emily, and a 6-year-old daughter named Lily. She was his world. They didn't have much money, but every Sunday, Daniel took Lily to the park. They'd sit on the same bench, eat ice cream, and talk about her dream of becoming a veterinarian. He promised her he'd always be there for her. But one day, that promise was broken. It was a cold evening in November 1998. Daniel had just closed the garage when police cars swarmed the street. Before he could understand what was happening, officers had surrounded him. "Daniel Carter, you're under arrest for the murder of Sarah Collins." Daniel froze. He didn't even know a Sarah Collins. But within minutes, his hands were cuffed, his rights were read, and his life as he knew it was over. Sarah Collins had been found dead in her apartment 2 nights earlier. The police claimed they had a witness, someone who swore they saw Daniel leaving her building. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, but there was a broken wristwatch found near the scene. It looked like one Daniel owned. Daniel tried to explain. Yes, he had a similar watch, but he'd lost it weeks ago. No one listened. The detectives were convinced they had their man. His lawyer was a public defender with too many cases and too little time. The trial lasted just 6 days. The witness, a neighbor with poor eyesight, pointed at Daniel in court. That was all the jury needed. The verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. Sentence, 25 years in state prison. Daniel's first night behind bars was a blur of noise, metal doors, and fear. He wasn't a violent man. He had never been in a fight in his life, but in prison, you had to adapt or you wouldn't survive. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into years. Daniel kept to himself, fixing things in the prison workshop. He sent letters to Lily every month, though most were returned unopened. Emily filed for divorce after the 2nd year. Daniel didn't blame her. She had to move on. But what broke him most was missing Lily's childhood. Her first day of school, her first bike ride, her sweet 16, all stolen by a crime he didn't commit. In 2017, nearly 2 decades after his arrest, a new lawyer, Amanda Reyes, took interest in Daniel's case. She was part of a non-profit that worked to free the wrongly convicted. Amanda read through his file and found something strange. The original witness had been legally blind without glasses. And the wristwatch? The police had never tested it for fingerprints. Amanda demanded a full DNA analysis. The results shocked everyone. The DNA on the watch matched a man named Victor Hayes, a career criminal with multiple violent charges. Victor had died in prison years earlier, but he had lived just a block away from Sarah Collins. The prosecutors had no choice. After 20 years, Daniel Carter's conviction was overturned. He walked out of prison, a free man. Freedom didn't feel like freedom. The world had changed. Phones were now tiny computers. His daughter was a grown woman he barely knew. When they met for the first time in 2 decades, she stood in front of him, silent. Then, slowly, she hugged him. And for the first time in 20 years, Daniel cried. Daniel never got back the years he lost, but he made sure his story was heard. Today, he works with the same nonprofit that freed him, fighting for others who are still behind bars for crimes they didn't commit. Because if there's one thing he learned, it's that truth doesn't always speak for itself. Sometimes, you have to fight for it.